Tariffs. Everyone is talking about them. One of the ways Canada could reduce the impact of tariffs imposed by the United States is by removing trade barriers between provinces so that goods could flow freely from Kamloops all the way to St. John's. On this episode of It's All Connected, we're going to take a look at interprovincial trade barriers and how getting rid of them could make things cheaper for Canadians.
We do have a lot of these small differences in regulatory standards that just make it that much more difficult to trade internally. So think about if you're a nurse or an electrician who's working in a particular province. You're licensed to work in one province, but if you want to move over to another one, your license doesn't necessarily carry over.
Experts often equate provincial regulatory differences to tariffs because of the additional costs to businesses and consumers. Food regulations and labeling are another area where the rules vary. For instance, if something is made in Alberta, a company may have to make two completely different sets of changes to its formula and its labeling to sell the product in Ontario and Quebec. Making these specific changes for each province may not be worth it when a company can make one edit and sell to the entire US market. So how much do Canadian companies stand to gain by breaking down these interprovincial trade barriers?
If you lower all of the standards that add up to being a tariff equivalent, it's likely you'll see prices decline, it's likely businesses become more productive, and the estimates that I've seen basically range between, a 1% bump to GDP to upwards of a 7% bump to GDP.
That big GDP growth would only happen if all the provinces had the same rules, which is tough since Saskatchewan and PEI have very different demographics and geography. But removing interprovincial trade barriers is a step in the right direction, and one that has started with the federal and provincial governments already removing some.